Hello and welcome to this video that helps you understand, or at least the goal is to help you understand what is meant by theme in literary works. Okay, this is Professor Morgan, Jason Morgan, also known as J. Lloyd Morgan. That's my author name. So let's get to it, shall we? Okay, to understand theme, we need to understand what it's not. So first thing we're going to look at is plot. Plot is basically the events that make up the story. Okay, it's just a literary term that people use to talk about the events. Okay, and then these generally happen in a pattern or a sequence. A way that I like to remember plot is it's basically like a links in a chain. Okay, it's a chain of events. This happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and this happened, this happened, and this happened. So these are all separate events, but they all connect to make something bigger. Okay, so that's plot, basically a chain of events. Another literary term that is often used is subject. Now, subject is kind of like a relative of genre, okay? Because they're similar in nature, but a little different, okay? For a subject, it's basically the topic which acts as the foundation for the work. Now, what does that mean? Well, it could be examples could be it could be the stories about war or religion or adventure or romance. Now, how does subject vary from genre? Well, you can have like a young adult romance book, which would be probably a lot different from what would be considered to be an adult romance book. Okay, different audiences. So again, we're just talking about the basic topic, or like what kind of topic is the story about. Okay, and finally back to theme. Well, what is theme then? Well, it is basically the meaning behind the work. When stories are being shared, there should be a reason that they're being told. I mean, how often have you had someone start to tell you something and you're like, why are you telling me this? What is the point of your story? And and so that's what you're trying to figure out. They're trying to explain something to you. It's like, well, what's the point of you telling me this, right? Now, the theme may be stated directly or indirectly, meaning that it could be sometimes the theme is abundantly clear or tries to be abundantly clear, um, or the theme can be more, subtle and more open to interpretation. And even ones that tend to be direct can be open to interpretation, as we'll look at in just a second. Another way to look at theme is that it reveals insight on life. Often, when I know that when I write stories, I'm often considering, human nature and how things interact, what happens. A lot of my questions, or a lot of my books, are what if? What if I had a character that had to deal with this particular situation, and what would happen? Okay. And often things can also kind of express, maybe the author's opinion or an opinion of truth, or basically, life and, humanity. It's like, this is the nature of humanity, or this is the nature of, existence, or whatever. And again, it's basically can be an opinion. Now, how do these compare? Well, plot, subject, and theme. These are all literary terms, but they're just like these are both fruits. They're different. Like an apple's different than an orange, right? So to review the difference, plot are the events that happened. This happened, and this happened, and this happened. The subject is what is the story about, okay? And the theme is okay, but okay, so what does the story mean? What's the purpose of the story? What should we gain from the story? What can we learn from the story? Okay. Now, another way to look at theme is basically if you look at subject, basically subject is the topic of the literary work. Okay. So, and then theme is an opinion expressed on that subject. Okay. So, for example, the subject of the book could be about war, and then the opinion or the theme that is expressed through that is that war is bad. Okay. Now, that's a very generic, basic way of looking at it. So, we're going to look at this a little differently. So, how can a writer present theme? Okay. They can do it through, the feelings of their main character. Okay, so their main character may feel about things certain way. They may have biases. They may have, insight. They may have, any number of things that make them feel what they feel about something and how it's going to impact their decisions they're going to be making. Okay. Also, it can be done through thoughts and conversations. A writer can, as we have inner thoughts of the character or the conversations that they participate in. Those can also help us kind of get an idea of what the theme is. Also, the experiences that happen. We talked about war is bad. Well, let's say someone who is a pacifist ends up going to war and ends up having to kill a bunch of people for survival. That could be an example of the experiences. And then the actions, the events that eventually lead to what ends up happening. So, the feelings, the thoughts and conversations, the experiences, the actions and events, all of these are different things that can lead us to understand what a theme could be. Now, note that a work can have more than one theme. And I will openly admit that I am, from a creative, even though I am an associate professor of English, I definitely look at literature through a creative writing lens because I am an author, okay? And there are those who may disagree with me and say, no, it's only the theme that the author intended. Well, we'll get to that in just a second, okay? So when it comes to themes, this is, I would state, my truth, that themes are not set in stone, okay? That they are debatable, okay? And if you've ever been asked, what did the author mean when they wrote this? The answer is you don't know because you're not the author, okay? And I'm speaking as an author where people have said, oh, when J. Lloyd Morgan wrote this, what he meant was this. I'm like, interesting. That may be your take on it, and you may have reasons to believe that. That is not at all what I meant or intended. So don't tell me what I intended and what I didn't intend, okay? And there could be other themes that the author had not intended. As I've written stories, they tend to, have a lot of different elements. And now whoever reads the story is going to have their own experiences and their own biases and the way that they're going to look at how stuff is presented and how they're going to interpret it. So how then to determine a theme? Well, again, show me the evidence, okay? That is the key point, is that there has to be evidence behind why a theme is what it is, okay? A theme is valid if it can be backed up with evidence from the text, okay? Or again, consider that a reader's personal opinion without evidence is not considered valid. So if someone reads my book, Bring Down the Rain, and they say, oh, I believe that Bring Down the Rain is about, the theme of that is the importance of having a belly button ring. I'd be like, what? Nowhere in the book does it talk about belly button rings or the importance of having a belly button ring or anything like that. That may be your opinion, but where did you come up with this from? Okay. Now, and again, I have had people that have pointed out themes in the books that I had never intended, and they provided evidence. I'm like, well, you're right. You know what? I did put that in there. I didn't mean to have that be a theme. But you're right, it's a theme. So anyway, I hope this video has helped you kind of get some understanding of what theme is. Again, when I was growing up, we'd have cartoons, and sometimes they'd show the cartoons, and at the end of the cartoon, they'd say, now, remember, the moral of the story is you should always look both ways before you cross the street, So they would actually basically tell us what the theme is. But the moral of the story is, well, that's, one way of looking at the theme. So anyway, I hope you have, this has helped giving you some better insight on theme. And there you go. Thanks.